Ciao and benvenuti to Tortellino time. Tomorrow is Mother's Day in the UK and today I'm getting a few recipes ready in advance of tomorrow. And at the moment I'm making a start on a Tuscan-style slow cooked roast. And this is a joint of brisket, but you can use any beef you like, but do not need to spend a lot of money on an expensive joint, as this will be cooking long and slow, and that is the trick for it to become lovely and tender. I've just unrolled it and it's roughly about an inch thick, so I think I'm going to do 1 inch cubes. Of course you can ask your butcher to do this for you, and sometimes in supermarket also you can find pre-diced beef, but I don't think I ever seen anything as big as this. Normally it's considerably smaller, and the beauty about this recipe is that once it's cooked you will still find relatively large pieces of beef. Next I will be adding a little salt to my beef and some pepper, and I'll mix everything together. This is a cast iron pan, but you can also use a normal one. I like cooking long and slow using cast iron. And I'll brown all of my meat. And I'll mix everything together for a good couple of minutes until all of my meat becomes of this color. Large onion, and I'll chop it, but I'll leave it in relatively large pieces, something like this, about 1 centimeter. I've just finished slicing a large carrot also in 1 centimeter pieces, and I will be also using a couple of celery sticks, but always remember to remove the strings, otherwise they will be annoying and you will find them in your teeth later. Very easy, just go to the bottom and peel it off, and then go back at the top and do the same. And I'll chop my celery sticks also in 1 centimeter pieces, followed by a couple of cloves of garlic, and with these ones I'll just give them a good crush with my knife, and that's good enough. And after a couple of minutes my meat is beautiful and brown and it can come off. And using the same oil which has got a lovely flavour from my beef, I'm now adding all of my vegetables. And I'll leave them to sizzle for 3 or 4 minutes until everything has softened up slightly. In the meantime, before I forget, I'm adding a tablespoon of tomato puree and I'll blend it in. If you've got some beef broth, ideal. If not, don't worry, do what I do. I've got here a beef stock cube, and I'll crush it inside a jug. I've just boiled my kettle and I'm now adding about half a litre of water, and I'll mix it all together. Optional, but worthwhile doing if you like a bit of a thicker sauce. So I will be using a couple of heaped teaspoons of cornflour. Cornflour is better than flour, as you will not be able to taste it. And I'll add a little cold water and mix it all together. And as I'm using cold water, the cornflour will dissolve in no time at all. Do not use hot water, otherwise it will become all lumpy. Back to my vegetables. This is a tin of Italian cherry tomatoes, vinegars. And I'm going to use some of my stock to rinse the can, and in it goes, followed by my cornflour. Everything is beginning to boil, and that is a good time to add all of my meat next, followed by the rest of my stock. And it's now beginning to boil, and I will turn it off. And that is because I will be finished cooking this tomorrow. As I mentioned before, I'm getting the recipes ready for tomorrow, and then all I've got to do tomorrow is just cook it. So I will continue by adding firstly a little bit of parsley, a generous handful. This is a sprig of rosemary which I picked from the garden earlier, but also you can use dry rosemary, of course. And this is thyme, and I'm going to be putting a good level teaspoon. And I'll mix everything together, and whilst it's hot I'll place the lid on so that I trap all of the flavors together, and I'll put it on my worktop and I'll leave it to cool down completely. Tonight before I go to bed I'll put this in the fridge, and then tomorrow morning I'll get it out, I'll leave it to reach more or less room temperature, and then I'll cook it on the hob. But I'll see you tomorrow morning, and then I'll tell you timings and so on. So that is it for now. See you tomorrow. Ciao ciao. Buongiorno and happy Mother's Day if you're a mum, or happy Sunday if you're not. So I'm ready to finish cooking the meat now, and here it is. Has just been out of the fridge, and it's obviously stone cold, so I'm ready to put it on the hob. Before I do so, I forgot yesterday to add a bay leaf which I just picked from the garden. You do not have to add it, by the way, it's not essential, but if you've got access to bay leaves, add it in, as it will add enhanced flavour. So I've just buried it and I'll move it to the hob. My stove is on maximum temperature and everything is beginning to boil, so I will place the lid on once again, and I'll turn the temperature down on the very low simmer, number 3 here out of 9 in my case. If you've got a gas hob, turn it on the minimum setting, and I will leave it to cook very slow for about 3 hours, anything between 3 to 4 hours. But what I'll do, I'll taste it after 3 hours, and if the meat is nice and tender, then I'll turn it off and it'll be ready. Also, I should have added that I will be likely to be adding some additional tomatoes at the end. Here, I'll show them to you. These are fresh cherry tomatoes. Actually, no, they're plum tomatoes. But I will leave those until maybe about 20 minutes before everything is finished. And that will renew the flavor of the tomatoes, and also they will look superb with the dish. But I'll show you that as and when. So see you in about 3 hours or so. In the meantime, I'll be making some Italianized Yorkshire puddings. Julie loves a Yorkshire pudding, and whenever I do anything different than a straight normal Sunday roast, she always asks for puddings. But I make them in an Italian way. I've done them before on the channel, but I'll show you what to do again. Yorkshire puddings are a strict must-have ingredient in Sunday roast across the UK, especially with children. And actually, it is one of the things that I absolutely loved when I arrived to this country. The recipe I'm using is something which Julie's nanny, bless her, Lil, taught me. And she always said to me, use 1 tablespoon of plain flour per person. It's 3 of us today, so 3 tablespoons. And then she always to say plus 1 for luck. So 1 for luck it is. I'm also aware that some of you were not aware of the existence of Yorkshire puddings until I published a few videos a little while back. And I was interested to hear about some of the comments where the price of eggs in America is absolutely extortion. I think somebody mentioned something like, actually more than one person, 12 eggs cost something like $7, which is amazing. And it'll be interesting to see if that is the case, as the weather is improving and hopefully hens are laying more chickens if the price has gone down. But today I will be using eggs from ducks. These are from a local farm which my sister-in-law has given me. A neighbor has got chickens and ducks, and we get all of our eggs from them. And there are some green ones here as well. Look, I'll show you. Green eggs, who knew? And I'll just show you the difference. This is an egg from a chicken, and this is an egg from a duck. Amazing, the difference. 1 egg most probably would be enough, especially as these are considerably bigger. Of course you can use chicken eggs, but I want this Yorkshire pudding to be majestic and very big, so I'll put a couple today. Followed by a sprinkle of salt. Some of you have asked how much we pay for eggs in the UK, and generally what we pay is about 20 pence per egg. So 2,000 would be £2.40. In dollars I think is £1.30, $1.30 to the pound, so it's about just $3.10, so less than half price. I wish Julie was here. I've done that on the top of my head. I'm not very good with numbers generally, but I'll mix this together. So yes, considerably cheaper than what you pay in the States. But what about anywhere else in the world? Are they comparable, those prices? I just mixed everything together, and before I forget, I'll add a little pepper. And I'm now adding a little water to get things going. Julie saw me adding some water a little while ago, and she said, "Why are you adding water to Yorkshire puddings?" And I said, "Because your nanny told me to." She actually was not aware. So I don't know why I'm adding water. That's what Lil told me to do, so I'm adding water. And once the water has been absorbed, I will top up with milk. But I'll start progressively. I'll put a little first, and I'll mix it. And I am almost there, just a little bit more there. And the batter for a standard Yorkshire pudding is ready. Here, I'll show you with a spoon so that you get an idea of the sort of consistency that you're looking for. Something in between liquid and smooth, if there is such a thing. But I did say that as I'm cooking an Italian dish, I would Italianize my Yorkshire puddings. So now that I've made the batter, I'll start with some additional ingredients. So this is 3 teaspoons of mixed seeds. There are all sorts in there, chia seeds, also these are pumpkins and sunflower seeds, whatever you might have available. Olives next. In Italy, when you have your second course, meat, fish, chicken, whatever, you will always have that with bread. It's very rare that there isn't any bread around the table. That is cultural, but it's also a tradition of Italian eating and cooking and so on. Even when you go to a restaurant, when you sit down, the first thing they do, they bring you a basket full of bread. So I think that in my own mind, that the Yorkshire pudding is the bread replacement. So I will be enhancing it with a few olives and sun-dried tomatoes. Here are my olives, which I keep in olive oil. Not many, I'll just pick half a dozen. Followed by some sun-dried tomatoes, which are also in the same jar. There, I'll pick 4 pieces. Perfect. And just like when you buy bread, which is got sun-dried tomatoes or olives in the middle, I'm slicing them in smaller pieces so they're not too intrusive. And as I'm happy with the consistency of my batter, I can just add them in. And I'll mix everything together, give the whisk a good shake. There is the odd bit of sun-dried tomato attached. I'll put the lid on, and this is ready to go in the fridge, and it will go in for a good couple of hours to rest, which is good practice anyway. And half an hour before dinner is ready, I'll put my Yorkshire puddings in the oven, but I'll show you what to do there and then. See you later. 2 hours later, and I'm ready to make the puddings. And the first thing I always do is to grease with some olive oil the bottom of my pudding tin. I don't know how many I will be making, so I'll just do a few. My oven is on, ready for the puddings at 200 degrees, and I'll pop the tin in first for a few minutes. And here is my batter straight out of the fridge, and I can see that during those couple of hours it was in the fridge has actually thickened up a little, which I think is why you keep it in the fridge before you make them. And I am ready for the puddings. These are going to be coming quite big because I'm filling them to the top, so I'm spreading them so that they do not end up getting stuck to one another. And here is my last one. And they're ready to go in the oven. Temperature at 200 degrees, about 20 to 25 minutes maybe. There's quite a lot there. But if you make them smaller, maybe less, or if you make them bigger, if you want to make them bigger, maybe a little bit more. But either way, ensure that they've beautifully puffed up and they've got this wonderful golden color. So I'll see you then. In the meantime, I'll take a look at the roast. My meat has been simmering for 3 hours, and let's take a look. Oh, it's looking really good, and let's just feel to see how tender the meat is. Oh yes, look, wonderful. So 3 hours was perfect, as it is pretty much done, but I did say that I was going to add some fresh tomatoes, so I can put them in now, and I'll mix them in, and I'll leave them to gently simmer for another 20 minutes, and everything will be ready at the same time when the puddings are done. 25 minutes on, and my puddings are done. Here they are, look, I just got them out. And they should also come out quite easily. Yes, see, they're perfect. They all come out without any problems whatsoever. They will be slightly heavier than normal Yorkshire puddings because of the olives and the sun-dried tomatoes, but they will be delicious. And here is the meat. And let's take a look. Oh, it looks wonderful. The smell is amazing. Oh, look at that. And the sauce is actually not too bad at all. It's not as liquidy as it could have been, but if you want it thicker, just add a little bit more cold water to your cornflour and add it in, or if you like it more liquidy, clearly don't do any. But this is perfect, look at that. And my new tomatoes, they're here, they retain their shape, and they will add a renewed level of freshness. I will be serving dinner in a minute, but I'm keen to taste some for the benefit of the video first. And just to show you how tender the meat is, look, I don't need a knife actually, it just comes apart with a fork. But let's just try some. It's absolutely beautiful. Literally, it melts in your mouth. It's wonderful. I know it took a long time, but I did something else, I did some other cooking. But it is definitely delicious. And as I said earlier, you do not need to buy an expensive joint, brisket or chuck steak, anything that is cheap. When you cook a long and slow like this, it will be absolutely delicious. But let's try the pudding. Yeah, I'll break it in half, and you can see, ooh, still steaming hot. You got seeds and maybe some olives in there, yes, and some dry tomato. I'll just try a little, maybe with a little sauce. there, just like they do in Sicily. Perfetto. Make it. You will love it. But before I finish the video, let me show you what we're going to be having with this. I have made a potato torte here, which has got thyme and also balsamic vinegar and Parmesan cheese and cheddar. This is covered under a different video. And also for dessert here, I've made a tart with lemon curd and pistachio and ricotta. Again, there will be a separate video for those, which will be in the cards here on the various parts of this video, and hopefully you will make all of three of them, or you might make one of them, but they're all delicious. But that is the end of this video. I'll just finish this little sample, which is next door with the mum, and then I'll serve and we can eat. So, arrivederci, grazie, happy Mother's Day once again, and see you next time. Ciao ciao.